Hello, my name is Ken Ballard Jr., and I'm the pastor here at Encounter Community Church. And again, let me just tell you how excited I am that you are here right now watching this, because that means that you're going through the next steps links on our page, and you've come to this part about prayer. And here's what I wanted to do, and I just wanted to take a moment to answer this one question, and that is, what's so special about prayer? Now imagine this. Imagine that you had a hotline, and that hotline was to the president. So that would mean that every time you picked up that hotline, the president would answer immediately. Now, this isn't about politics. It's just imagining that you had a hotline. However, if you did have that hotline, you could talk to the president about politics, about policies and beliefs and all those other kind of elements too. But just imagine that you had this line that you picked up any moment and he would answer immediately. But now let's flip that. Imagine that he had the other side of that hotline, and the president would pick up that hotline, and then you would be able to pick it up and go, oh, the president's calling me, and then you answer and you talk to the president. Now, let's magnify that 1,000,000 times fold, because we are talking about prayer, and prayer is a hotline to the creator of the universe. See, if you had that kind of hotline to the president, that would mean that you have a special relationship with the president. And for you to have prayer as a hotline to God, it is simply saying to you that you have a special relationship with him, that he invites you to connect with him, and he desires that so much. I picture God sitting on the edge of his throne, just excited about the opportunity of being able to interact with you through prayer. And so with that in mind, there are two elements to prayer. First, there is a speaking element, but then there's also a listening element. In other words, prayer is a conversation. And you get an opportunity to have a conversation with the creator of the universe. Now, many times when we think about prayer, we look at it from the level of us talking to God. But imagine this. Imagine that your phone rings and you pick it up and it's me calling you. But then I start talking and I start talking and I keep talking and I start talking and I keep talking, and you don't get an opportunity to get a word in edgewise. You may have some great advice, some great insight, but I miss it because all I do is talk rather than listen. Now, eventually, what would happen is if that continued to happen enough, there would be a point where you probably ghost me if you got my call. Now, I'll just let you know, God's not gonna ghost you, but God desires to have that opportunity to not only hear you share with him, but he also wants to have him be able to share with you. Which brings us to this challenge. Well, Ken, how do I get to know God's voice and if God is speaking to me? And just to let you know, in further links in prayer, we will have one that talks specifically about that, how to recognize the voice of God. But I love this. It does say this in John chapter 10, verse 27. It says, my sheep listen to my voice. I know them and they follow me. I know them and they follow me. There are certain people that if I pick up the phone, they don't have to say who they are. My wife, my kids, I know their voice. My best friends, I know their voice. They don't have to say who they are. Now, I will tell you that getting to know God initially is awkward, but it's the same way as with my wife. Before she was my wife, before she was my girlfriend, before she was even just a friend, when there was that initial attraction to one another, there was those awkward moments that we had in conversation. And no, I'm not going to tell you a story because I would be completely and utterly embarrassed. We have some funny stories to tell. But with that in mind, as we hung out more and we talked more and we spent more time with each other, it got to a point where now I am able to recognize her voice. And in that conversation, we share our dreams, our goals, our thoughts, our imagination, our challenges. That's the beauty of prayer. And that's what God desires to have with you. So again, thank you so much for allowing us to be on this journey with you, and I cannot wait to see and to hear what God does in your life when it comes to prayer.